Good afternoon, students. I am Professor S.R. Saste. Today we will conduct the class of Applications in Plant Biotechnology, the practical course ESC 214, under which we are going to learn about different sterilization techniques that are used in plant tissue culture laboratory. To start with, first we will learn about definition of sterilization. Sterilization can be defined as any process that effectively kills or eliminates transmissible agents, which are generally fungi, bacteria, viruses, and prions, from a surface, equipment, foods, medications, or biological culture medium. In simple language, the sterilization is a 100% removal of any life form from the surfaces, equipment, foods, medications, or biological culture medias. Generally, majority of bacteria are found in their vegetative form, but whenever the conditions surrounding bacteria are not favorable for it, it forms small endospores. Here like this. These are the spores which are very much resistant to harsh conditions like high temperature, pressure. So generally, whenever we try to kill these bacteria using heat or chemicals or any kind of other methodologies, uh, the heat generally causes the denaturation of proteins, nucleic acids and components of cellular membrane but cannot kill the endospores. That's why using the heat sterilization techniques, we generally raise up the heat up to 121 degrees Celsius and the pressure was applied to 15 psi. When these endospores, very resistant endospores of vegetative bacteria also gets killed. Now there are numerous sterilization techniques are available or are there used in the laboratories, such as physical sterilization techniques are there and also the chemical sterilization techniques are there. In physical, they are further categorized as heat sterilization, radiation sterilization and filtration sterilization. In heat sterilization, two methodologies are used, dry heat and moist heat. Dry heat sterilization is generally carried out using incineration, direct burning of objects directly using a incinerator, while you can also use the dry oven in which dry air is used for the sterilization of items. In moist heat sterilization, as its name implies, it's use the water or the water steam as a uh, sterilizing power. For example, in autoclave, pressurized steam or steam under pressure is used to kill or to sterilize the medias and other items. While we can also use the boiling water, water heating and pasteurization process for disinfection. In radiation sterilization, two types of radiations are used, ionizing and non-ionizing. Ionizing radiations, whenever passed through air, they generally cause the ionization of molecules. That's why they are called as ionizing radiations. Such radiations are X-rays, gamma rays and cathode. In non-ionizing radiations, ultraviolet light is generally used to kill the bacteria, which kills any life form by forming or interviewing with the DNA or nucleic acid material of that particular life form. In filtration sterilization, generally various kinds of filter membranes or filter asbestos membranes or sintered glass are used to filter sterilize the material, generally the medias and air. In chemical sterilization methodology, two types of chemicals are used, gaseous chemicals and liquid chemicals. In gases, two gases are prominently used, that are formaldehyde and ethylene oxide. While in liquid, numerous chemicals are being used like alcohol, halogens, phenols, aldehydes, which generally deform the structure of life forms by changing their structure by altering the cell wall and cell membrane of those life forms. So all these are the sterilization techniques which are used in tissue culture and also in microbiology and other such fields. We'll learn one by one. The first sterilization technique that is prominently used in plant tissue culture is dry heat sterilization or sterilization by heat. In the first method, that is dry heat, it is the simplest method which involves the exposing of items to be sterilized to the naked flame. Example, Bunsen burner, or in some cases we also use the spirit lamp for sterilizing the bacteriological loops, knives, blades, the surgical tools like forceps and scalpel. And in another type of dry heat sterilization, we use hot air oven, in which the items like pipettes, glass petri dishes, or flasks or bottles, they are exposed to heat of 160 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. So this hot air oven is an electrical equipment. It is actually a double walled chamber in which there will be a heat coil underneath, and this heat coil will generate the hot air which will be circulated with the help of fan. And this kind of methodology is generally used for sterilization of metals, glassware, ointment, oils, waxes, powders, etc. That is the items that are lacking the water. In the second type of sterilization technique, that is moist heat sterilization, we generally use the autoclave. Autoclave in Greek means, auto means self, clave means sterilization. It's a self-sterilizing equipment which works on the same principle as that of your pressure cooker, where under the pressure, the boiling point of water is increased above 100 degrees Celsius whenever applied a pressure which is greater than an atmospheric pressure. In this case, generally we apply 15 psi of pressure, which causes the boiling point of water to raise up to 121 degrees Celsius. It's a double walled chamber in which air is replaced by pure saturated steam under pressure. So it has a pressure gauge, then pressure regulating device valves. Safety valve is also there. It has a lead. Inside the jacket, it has sometimes it has an electric component attached to it. In some cases, it can be also equipment which can be heated on a gas flame. So there will be a steam release valve, vacuum release valve, and outer stand also present in this kind of equipment. Generally, there are two types of equipments are there: vertical autoclaves and horizontal autoclaves. Vertical autoclaves have the capacity ranging from 15 liters to 200 liters. While horizontal autoclaves, they have the capacity ranging from 200 liters to 400, in some cases exceeding the 500 liters also for commercial applications. Now, what are the significant points of using autoclave? Steam is very effective means of sterilization as it has very high penetration power and it gives large amount of heat to surface with which it comes in contact. The principle of working of autoclave is the sterilization is done by steam under pressure. It kills all vegetative forms of almost all bacteria, mycobacteria, tuberculosis, viruses such as hepatitis B, C, A and HIV. And it can also kill the heat resistant spores including Clostridia tetani and Clostridium welchi. Why we generally use 121 degrees Celsius temperature is because of it is efficient in killing all the spores. So at this temperature, the very resistant spores of bacteria, which is called as Bacillus thermophilus, can also get killed. That's why we generally go for using the 121 degrees Celsius temperature under the pressure of 15 psi. Advantages of using autoclave are generally temperature is greater than 100 degrees Celsius. Therefore, all the types of resistant spores gets killed. Then condensation of steam generally generates the latent heat, extra heat, which is also called as latent heat of condensation, which causes the % sterilization. The condensation also allows the steam to penetrate rapidly into porous materials. That means whatever steam is generated within the cabinet, it can penetrate through the leads, through the cotton or through any kind of porous materials inside to the bottle, inside the test tube or inside whatever things you are sterilizing. Autoclavable items must be steam permeable, cannot be used for items that are lacking the water. Now, second methodology of sterilization is by chemical methods. So various types of chemicals like gaseous and liquid chemicals are being used. In gases, ethylene oxide, formaldehyde, nitrogen oxide and ozones are used. While in liquid sterilization, hydrogen peroxide, glutaraldehyde, hypochlorite, alcohols, phenols, etc. These types of chemicals are generally used. In gaseous sterilization, ethylene oxide, which is actually used for sterilization, to sterilize the medical and pharmaceutical products that cannot support conventional high temperature. That means this is generally used for the items which cannot withstand the high temperature in the autoclave or hot air room. So such devices such as electronic components, plastic packaging and plastic containers are being sterilized by exposing them to ethylene oxide gas. Now this method uses automatic device filled with ethylene oxide gas at a temperature below 100 degrees Celsius to sterilize the complex and delicate materials. Now ETO destroys microorganisms by chemically reacting with the DNA or nucleic acids. Its generally advantage of using this is the equipment is fully automatic. It has high efficiency and gives 100% result. While disadvantage is complex and time consuming process. Generally the gas is carcinogenic, so it creates a safety concern for human use. Now second gas used for sterilization is formaldehyde gas. Generally the procedure called of using the formaldehyde as an sterilizer is fumigation. So formaldehyde is an organic chemical compound which is a byproduct of metabolism of many organisms and is commonly found in fresh air, rainwater, foods, industrial products and fabrics. It is considered even more dangerous than the ETO and is therefore less commonly used for sterilization. Advantage is a very reactive molecule and faster cycle time compared to ETO. Cost per cycle is also lower than the ETO. After sterilization, most loads are available for immediate use. But a disadvantage is the vapors of this gas is very irritating to eyes, weak penetration power compared to ETO, and operates on a higher temperature than ETO. Formaldehyde residues can remain on the sterilized goods even if the rinsing phase is not 100% efficient, and this can be harmful for the operators, patients, or whatever workers which are working in the laboratory. In liquid sterilization, we use various types of chemicals. Mainly we use alcohols. These are effective disinfectants for many reasons. Why? Because they evaporate quickly without leaving a residue. That's why there is no problem of keeping residue on your hands, on your explant or any kind of surfaces. That's why majorly used alcohols are ethanol and isopropyl alcohol, which are both are the members of alcohol family and have similar disinfectant properties. Ethanol is type of alcohol present in all alcoholic beverages, while isopropanol alcohol is also known as isopropanol, 2-propanol or rubbing alcohol. When used as disinfectants, both are typically used at the concentration of 70% in the water. That means you have to take 70 ml of absolute alcohol and you have to mix it into 30 ml of pure distilled water. That gives you 70% of rubbing alcohol or a disinfectant alcohol. Phenols, these acts generally by damaging the cell membrane, thus by releasing the cell contents and causing the lysis of a cell. So they are generally used in our daily lives. They are commonly found in mouthwashes, scrub soaps, surface disinfectants, floor cleaners, etc. Phenols are used for decontamination of laboratory environment, including laboratory surfaces and non-critical medical items. We generally use in tissue culture these kinds of phenols for treating the explant, cleaning the floors or wiping the walls, etc. So examples of generally used phenols are Dettol, Phenyl or Lysol that we generally use for cleaning purpose. Now the third type of technique is radiation sterilization. It has again two types, that is non-ionizing and ionizing radiations. In non-ionizing radiations, infrared rays, UV rays are generally used. Infrareds are rarely used. It used for rapid mass sterilization of pre-packed items such as syringes, plastic petri plates, then petri dishes, whatever plastic items that are used for one-time use. While UV rays are used for disinfecting the enclosed areas such as entryways, operation theaters, labs. In tissue culture, we generally use it to disinfect the areas very sensitive or ultra clean areas like your growth rooms or laminar airflow rooms or laminar airflow inside portion. Here we generally have UV tube fixed to every laminar airflow. Before working, we have to keep this on for almost 15 to 30 minutes and then we can start with our work. So generally UV rays work on the principle of damaging the DNA or nucleic acids by forming the T dimers in the adjacent T's, thymines bonds. Now in ionizing radiations, generally gamma rays and X-rays are used. And again they are used for sterilizing the syringes and plasticwares. Advantages of radiation sterilization: it's a clean and dry process, no involvement of any kind of water or gases there. Only rays are used, so it ensures the full exposure of objects from all the directions, and that's for this reason they are very good option for sterilization, and that's why the process is also called as cold sterilization. While it has also some disadvantages, like if exposed to humans, if humans get exposed to these kinds of radiations, it causes threat to them. It's a lengthy process, requires very qualified person to handle the instrument. Now the last method of sterilization is filtration sterilization. Now this is generally used for heat sensitive or heat labile chemicals such as hormones, plant growth regulators, which cannot be sterilized using autoclaving or hot air sterilization. That means their structure generally gets denatured. They are proteinaceous in nature, so proteins whenever get exposed to heat, they generally gets denatured and their function and structure gets got deformed. That's why we cannot use harsh sterilization techniques for these kinds of sensitive materials. So there comes the filter sterilization technique, which is the process does not destroy but removes the microorganisms by the principle of filtration. It allows for the exclusion of organism based upon the size. So filters are designed in such a way that their pore size is kept minimum. In this case, generally it is 0.22 micron, through which bacteria or fungal spores cannot pass through. That's why whatever material you want to filter sterilize, it's kept in a upper chamber, while in between this two chambers there is a disc which is fitted with this kind of filter having the pore size of 0.22 micron. The lower side is connected with vacuum pump. Okay, this vacuum pump creates negative pressure in the lower chamber and pulls the upper liquid through the filter paper into the lower chamber, while there is positive pressure in the upper chamber. So the liquid flows from upper chamber to lower chamber towards the negative pressure, and thereby your whatever material you want to filter gets sterilized. Usually this entire assembly is autoclavable, so you can autoclave this entire assembly in the autoclave and you can use it for sterilizing the liquids which are heat sensitive. So this is the procedure. Now we not only filter the liquids, we can also filter the gases. So in tissue culture, we have laminar airflows which are fitted with HEPA filters. What is HEPA? HEPA is high efficiency particulate air filters. So the general function of these filters is they can remove up to 99.97% of particles which are greater than 0.3 micrometer in size or in diameter. So air is first passed through the pre-filters to remove the larger particles, and then it is passed through the HEPA filters. They are generally fixed in front of operator, that means just below the UV light. There are two types of filters used in the filtration, filter sterilization, that is depth filters and membrane filters. Application of filtration for sterilization of liquids. Membrane filters of 0.22 micrometer nominal pore diameter are generally used, but sintered filters are used for corrosive liquids, viscous fluids, and organic solvents. So these kinds of HEPA filters are generally used in the laminar airflow. So this is all about the different kinds of sterilization techniques that are used in plant tissue culture. In the next lecture, we are going to learn about what are the different aseptic techniques that are used in plant tissue culture, how to initiate a culture, how to establish a culture, and how we can grow culture in a tissue culture lab. Thank you very much for today's lecture.